Imagine this. You're in your kitchen, just doing something completely normal, and you glance outside, and there's a 7-year-old child inside your locked pool area. Not your kid, not invited, just there. Yeah, that's the moment everything changes, and I'll give you my thoughts on this at the end of the video. This is one of those stories that kind of quietly builds into something that's bigger than it should be. This woman, late 30s, lives with her husband and her 2 kids. They bought their house a couple of years ago, and one of the main reasons was the backyard, specifically the pool. And her kids practically live in it during summer. A few months ago, a new family moved in next door, and they've got a young son, around 7. At first, everything's fine. Everyone's friendly, kids play together here and there, quick chats over the fence, that kind of thing. Until it slowly starts to shift. Over time, the neighbours start sending their son over alone. No checking in, no parent coming with him, just watching him walk over from their porch and then disappearing back inside. Without ever agreeing to it, she's now responsible for somebody else's child. And I feel like this is where it gets tricky, because maybe they need help, but don't know how to ask for it. And because at first it probably feels small, like it's just one extra kid. But it's not really about the number of kids. It's about supervision. It's about responsibility. It's about the fact that if anything happens, it falls on you. And let's be honest, there's also a financial aspect of an extra mouth to feed if he's there at snack or lunchtime. And it keeps happening. Even on days where she's busy. Even when she hasn't said yes. There's this quiet expectation that she'll just absorb it. And she doesn't love confrontation, so she kind of tries to navigate it without making it a big thing. Until she can't. So that Saturday, she had already told the mum earlier in the day, hey, we're busy today, no visitors. Clear, direct, zero ambiguity. Then, around mid-afternoon, she looks out the window and sees the neighbour's son in her pool area. In the pool. He had climbed over the fence without anyone knowing, unless his parents knew. And if so, that's a whole completely different can of worms. And this isn't one of those kids being cheeky moments. This is a split-second kind of situation. So she runs out, gets him out of the water safely, and walks him straight back home. And she's shaken, because this could have gone very differently. So she tells the parents what happened. And this is where it gets a bit surreal, because instead of concern or panic, or even a basic reaction, they laugh, like it's cute, like it's just part of his personality. And they say, oh, he loves water. And then drop the line that it takes a village. Which, okay, in theory, sure. But this isn't helping someone in a moment. This is sending your child into someone else's fenced pool area without supervision. So, she sets a boundary. She tells them their son is not allowed in her pool unless she's there and one of them is there to supervise. Very reasonable, because you just don't know what can happen around water. He could slip, hit his head and fall into the water. And with no one there to help him, well, yeah. But they don't take it that way. They call her heartless. Say it shouldn't matter if one more kid is there. And then it escalates. The mum posts on the local Facebook group, doesn't name her, but makes it obvious enough. Talking about wealthy neighbours and people who don't share and have no sense of community. So now the whole tone shifts. They stop speaking to her. Other neighbours start giving her weird looks. And suddenly she's questioning herself, like, am I the problem here for not wanting to be responsible for someone else's child in a pool? And this is where I think it's worth just slowing down a little bit. Because there's a difference between being kind and being expected to take on full responsibility for somebody else's kid. And a pool isn't neutral. It's not just a fun thing in the backyard, it's a risk, a serious one. There's a reason some places have laws that all pools have to be fenced off with child-proof latches. And the reality is, if something had gone wrong, none of the village language would matter. Responsibility would land very clearly on the person whose property it happened on. And I think what's wrong here is how boundaries get reframed. Because she didn't say no to helping. She didn't say that the kid couldn't come over. She said not without supervision, which is basic safety. It's being fair and reasonable. Like, yes, your son can use the pool, but you have to come and parent and be responsible for him. But somehow that becomes her being selfish. And I always find it interesting that it's the person that is trying to take advantage of the situation that then goes and cries about it publicly when they don't get their way. And maybe this is one of those moments where being seen as nice and actually doing the right thing just don't line up. Because letting it continue might keep the peace, but it also keeps the risk. And what if they send the kid over when they're not there and something happens? I think there's something important about being able to say, I'm not comfortable with this, and letting that be enough, without needing to justify it into something softer, especially when it comes to your home. So the verdict for me, this is a strong, she is not the asshole, but the neighbours are. But I'm curious, would you have set the same boundary? Or would you have just let it continue to avoid the tension with your neighbours? Thanks for judging that one with me on Am I the Arsehole But Zen. Let's see if your verdict changes next time.